Did you know that there are 3 categories of sexless marriage causes? In this video, I'm going to share with you category 1, which has 11 root causes of a sexless marriage. And actually, the 8th one is super important. Why? Because it's the one that helped me defeat my low sex marriage. Also, I'm going to cover the other categories in parts 2 and part 3 of this series. I'm making this video because you see, number 8 in my first marriage was a serious problem. It was a major reason my first wife and I were in divorce court before she passed away. And when I married my current beloved, I had not solved the problem that number 8 had caused for me in my first marriage. So it was a major reason that my second marriage began to decline as well. But luckily, I figured it out. So stay with me as I share with you 11 root causes of a sexless marriage and how you can begin turning this cancer around in your marriage. And lastly, hang out until the end and I will share with you 2 of my proven resources to help you to begin to solve this problem a lot easier and a lot faster with less mistakes in your marriage. Why? Because at this time in your marriage, you just can't afford to make any more mistakes when it comes to your wife. Moreover, in my experience as a marriage coach, I've come to realize that all of the inside the bedroom sex problems are always a result of other problems in a marriage, such as communication, prayer, or intimacy outside the bedroom. All I ask is that you please leave a comment or like the video if you are going to take advantage of one or both of these resources. So I have a question for you. Are you in a sexless marriage right now? If so, do me a favor and post how long in the comments. So, let's get started. Bam. Quote, to be an infallible lover, the first thing you must recognize that sex is and must always be holy. It must make you holy. It must make your beloved holy. It must lead you to him who is holy. End quote. Gregory J. Popchak, PhD, book Holy Sex, A Catholic Guide to Toe Curling, Mind-Blowing, and Infallible Loving. But that is the thing that people don't understand, that sex must be holy. It must involve him who is holy. Why? Because when the lust runs out, the intimacy still remains. You know, you still have intimacy in your marriage. People don't understand that eroticism is fleeting. It's something that never doesn't stay, but intimacy, especially when you involve God, it stays around. It gets better and better. And so with that being said, we move to our subject for today. You know, like I said, sex is the second most important thing in our marriage. Intimacy is very, very important. And without that, then there's no closeness. And so when the closeness goes, your wife goes. It's very important we understand that. So as promised today, today's radical rant, what is a sexless marriage and what are the causes? What many don't understand is that most times a sexless marriage is just the result of many other problems that are going on now in your marriage or that have taken place in the past, which are now manifesting them in a loss of intimacy. I can't tell you how many men come to me and go, oh man, our sex life is really bad and we're not, we just don't make love anymore. And we're not intimate with each other. And we don't have intimacy outside the bedroom. We don't hug. We don't talk. We don't kiss. We don't do anything like that. So fix that. And the first thing I'm going to say is, oh, okay. And then I'm going to go into my little interview to figure out the real problems in your marriage. I guarantee you, if you're not making love with your wife, it's not the sex. And I have a lot of guys. I mean, of course, most guys are bad lovers or mediocre lovers at best, but that's a problem that can be fixed. But the problem, what many people don't realize is there's a lot of things before that happens that starts to dwindle down the intimacy. in a marriage. Like if we can't communicate properly, or if my wife doesn't feel loved, if I as a man don't feel loved. I got guys like that. Men that think, man, she don't love me either. And so there are a lot of problems that lead up to not having um, um, adequate or good sex, or having sex at all. Okay. Now, I defeat this problem in my marriage too, with the help of the Holy Spirit. So I wanted to help other men find the solution in their marriages, because eventually this can't cost you your marriage. Well, I'm not going to say, well, it will. It can, and it will. The thing about women is they're very loyal, and they're very attached to you. And so when things are going bad in a marriage, they'll stay around a very, very long time. They'll stay around decades and be unhappy and be unfulfilled. And as a husband, if you know that, man, that is so disheartening. Like my wife, most guys don't even know that their wife is unhappy, or she might give instances that she is cool, but inside she's not fulfilled. And basically for a woman, that's just basically, she's not happy, And so what they start to do is make plans on how to get away and how to make that better. And a lot of times, brother, I hate to tell you, when they start making plans like that, that plan includes getting away from you. It really does. Because why? You're the easy one. Because she can't blame the kids, right? She can't blame her job, because her job, she got to go make money. She can't really blame you're really the one. You're really the one that's there every day, the one that she interacts with, and you're the easy target. Why? Because most men, they're kind of oblivious to what's going on with their wife. Why? Because they don't talk to them. They don't ask them questions. They don't indulge in the mysteries of their beloved. And when you don't do that, you don't know nothing about your wife. Like every guy I talk to all the time, they think they know their wife. Dude, you don't know your wife. You don't know your wife, especially if you've been married to her, I'll say 5-10 years or longer. You don't know her. And it's time to stop thinking you don't know that you do know her, because why? When we think we know something as men, what do? We get lazy. Well, I know that. I don't have to worry about that. I know that already. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You really know your wife. Then you come home, like me, I come home and my wife's gone. I really knew my wife, didn't I? I knew her really well. So, well, like I said, eventually you can lose your marriage if you're in a sexless marriage. And I see people on the internet all the time talking about, these articles and stuff, how to survive in a sexless marriage and how we're so happy in our sexless marriage. You know how much a lie that is? People kill me how they're like roaches. We're like roaches and rats. We adopt to anything. We'll adapt to anything. To stop from doing the work it's going to take to make things great and blissful and happy and peaceful, because many times we don't even know the hell we're even in, right? So why? Because marriage is more than two people together. Marriage is about God, being best friends, closeness, and of course, one flesh. Intimacy is the second most important thing in our marriage besides prayer. And intimacy is what is responsible for the emotional closeness in our marriage. And without it, the marriage will be lackluster, or worse, it will end in divorce or an annulment. I can't express to you how important it is to know when you are in a mediocre marriage, because then at that time, you have the chance right now to get help to get that marriage above mediocrity. If you don't get a mediocre marriage above mediocrity and start moving towards good, you will lose that marriage and you will lose that woman. Because when women get older, they start to think, well, where is this marriage going? Why am I here? What are we doing? And then, of course, as you always know, they start talking to other people, other men, especially other women, divorced women, single women, and their friends at work. And those people, she's going to start telling them about you. And then that's when, by now, that's the string. That's just how it works. That's how it goes. Okay. So, what is a sexless marriage. So before we get started, real quick, I'm going to tell you what a sexless marriage is, what the criteria is, so that we're all on the same page. A sexless marriage, we'll do a low sex marriage first. So there's a low sex marriage and a sexless marriage. So a low sex marriage is defined as making love an average of less than once per week. Now think about that now before you go, yeah, whatever. Think about it. You make love on an average less than once per week. The problem you must understand about the marital embrace and intimacy is just the same thing about every other habit. Like if you're a person, you're supposed to lose weight, and for 3 months, you're on the carnivore diet and you're eating all protein. And then all of a sudden you start, like there's a holiday, like July 4th is coming up, right? And then you eat some baked beans or some potato salad or some chips or some cake, and it starts getting good to you. Right? And so then July 4th might be on a Saturday. So here comes Sunday. You go, well, it's the weekend. So I'll go ahead and eat some carbs and stuff again today, eat some more chips and stuff. Before you know it, you look up 2 or 3 weeks, a month from now, every day is a carb day. Ain't no carb-free days no more. You forgot all about the carnivore diet. Protein what? And so, dude, that's how intimacy in our marriages is, especially when we get older and we've been married for a while. Intimacy is just like anything else. If we do it less than once a week, then the habit starts to build, right? So, and that's what a low sex marriage is. You make love an average of less than once a week. Think about that. That's how many? I forgot how many hours it is, but that's a lot of hours. That's like 60 times 10. How many hours in a week? You trying to say out of all those hours in a week, you and your wife can't make love one time. Out of all those days, 7 days in the week, and all those hours and all those minutes in a week, and you and your wife can't take the time to force yourselves to be intimate with each other, knowing that intimacy is very important. And you can't even one time a week. You can't even force yourself or get up enough courage or time to do that. Okay. So now that's a low sex marriage. Now a sexless marriage is defined as making love an average of less than once per month. Think about that. If you make love on an average of less than once a month, that's basically 10 times a year. You make love 10 times a year. But as I have had experience with, I have had people that they made love in 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. And they still married because people are like roaches and rats. They will adopt to misery. They will. They will adopt to being hell, and they will adapt to it because, well, it's easier. And then I can sit there and blame my husband for all the stuff he did. That's why I'm not having sex with him. Or I can sit there and blame my wife or forget her and all the stuff that she didn't done, supposedly. It's really easy. But then your life is miserable. Your life is miserable. It is. So again, a sexless marriage is less than once a month. A low sex marriage is less than an average of once a week. And that's why you always hear me say that a sex that it's at the beginning of this podcast, like what to do when I have sex less than once a month. Basically, if you haven't had sex in 30 days, your marriage is on its way out. Yep. It's on its way out. You just don't know it yet. You will be in divorce court. Yep. Unless your wife decides or you decide I'll just suffer through it for 20 years or 30 years or 50 years or something. And I'm telling you right there, women will do that for a while, but that'll end too. Yep. So what's the solution to a sexless marriage? Well, there are a few, but we're going to really go into the causes. But the first step is knowing the possible causes of a sexless marriage and moving to eliminate those in your marriage. In my article, It's called Sexless Marriage, the Agony, the top 24 reasons for intimacy anguish in your marriage. And if you just put in Catholic Alpha and Google that article, it will come up because it's all over the internet. It's a very popular article. So in this article, I list the top 24 possible causes of a sexless marriage and divide them into 3 categories. They are emotional, physical, and spiritual. That's a revelation, right? So today we will cover the first category, which deals with the emotional causes of a sexless marriage. And after the break, we'll get deeper into this mysterious concept. So hang with me. We're going to try to get this going. The sexless marriage, man, don't think you can't be there. A lot of people are already there. But so now that we know the definitions, then everybody's probably thinking, oh, man, that's worse than I thought. Hey, or you might be thinking, oh, okay, that's not bad. We make love once a week, so we're still good. And you are still good. If you make love at least once a week, you are still good. Okay. Especially if both you and your wife work, and you come up different times and stuff, or like you have one of those jobs where you're working through the night, and your wife, she stays at home and takes care of the kids and all that stuff, but I'll tell you this. Really working for women is bad because they don't want to make love because they're tired. I'm telling you the truth. Think about it. Man, just go 30 days without your wife working. You'll get a lot more intimacy. You will. But when she's working, she's tired. She like, oh man, come on, baby. Especially if the sex ain't that good. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not trying to be a bad person, but especially if it's like mediocre stuff, she's okay if I have to. So let's rock this. So, as promised, the top causes of a sexless marriage. And again, we will start with the emotional and cover the other 2 categories in the next 2 shows, parts 2 and parts 3. The effects of a sexless marriage are devastating, but for a wife, it is even more so. For example, many wives are bored or resistant to the marital embrace because of a lack of longevity. So that is a very important that you guys got to know that as husbands. Women are bored with sex these days. Well, I'm sure it's one of those things that have been over time, over thousands of years. It's just not today. It's forever. And so when I say that a man is a mediocre lover or a bad lover, that just basically means that's just a fun way of saying that he doesn't understand his wife's body. He doesn't understand what his wife needs to feel fulfilled in the sexual and as a woman. And believe it or not, women's sexual satisfaction bonds to their fulfillment as women. We all know it, but I'm the one that talks about it. And so when I say a woman basically is bored with sex, what that means is a wife has made love to her husband, hundreds of times, and it's been the same, basically the same. It's not as far as her, she's not getting the amount of sexual peaks that she desires. She's not getting what she needs from the sex sessions. And so that when you at the end of the last segment, you heard me joking around saying, if your wife is working, she's tired. And if you want to make love, then it's like she's tired. And then if the sex is just kind of like mediocre or not very good, then she just kind of was like, okay, really? Because she knows that it's going to be the same. And this is why I tell men, you must learn the mysteries of your wife. You cannot go years and decades and not understand your wife. Understand her body, understand how it works, her menstrual cycle, if she's in menopause, what all that means, and all these kind of things. Stop thinking you know your wife, because you don't. You don't know her. Okay? And so when I say because your wife will get bored with or resist making love because of a lack of longevity. So when I say longevity, I mean that the sex session only lasts it doesn't even make it to 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour. And so basically, because women, it takes them 20 minutes to even warm up to be able to receive you as her husband, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. And if you as a man lose control in less time than that, then basically your wife is not fulfilled. She's for that session and she becomes very unhappy. So over time, she don't want to make love to more because why? It's not even worth it to her. Yep. I know that's a tough one to accept, fellas. I know I had to accept it too. But once you do, you become a better lover, become a better husband. Trust me. Next, our wives, for example, when we talked about the effects of a sexless marriage on a woman is inhibitions, which are basically trauma in her life, which builds up inhibitions towards sex, towards intimacy and things like that. So what are inhibitions, trauma for women? If a woman has had an abortion, if a woman has had miscarriage, if she's had sex, multiple sex partners with other than her husband, if she's been abused or sexually abused or even verbally abused, like very badly, like calling her like big time names all the time and arguing and fighting, and just things like that. If a parent has died, all that stuff for women's trauma. Why? Because women are emotional so that they can bond with the children, and so they don't get rid of things the way men do. Okay. And the next thing is, so that's inhibitions. So the next thing is the next thing is that's a big effect on women is pain of past failed sexual relationships. So for every woman if she's had sex with anybody other than her husband, she's had failed sexual relationships. So what does that mean? That means basically every sex that she's had with a man that's not her husband is a failed sexual relationship, because that sex does not lead to her being married. You've got women, they just, and as a man, you have to understand that every man that they have sex with is a traumatic experience on their psychological well-being and their spirituality well-being. It damages them. People don't really realize that, but it does. Women just can't. They think they can just go around and have sex. Oh, this is going to be fun, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, she gets the man that she's supposed to marry, and she's married to him, and she's in her marriage. And then she can't be happy, fulfilled, because she's got all this baggage and inhibitions that she didn't brought into the marriage, because she's sleeping with all these other dudes and stuff. Yep, that's true. Believe it or not. So that's another thing. Severe, deep emotional pain that's built up anxiety and anger. If women don't have sexual peaks, they start to become very angry and bitter. They start to have a lot of anxiety. They start to take it out on you and the children, people at work. This is why you see women these days, most women are just very unhappy. They're very unfulfilled. You can't make them happy. They're argumentative. They're combative. They have no peace. That's just how they are. And men don't understand what's wrong with them. Well, I just told you what's wrong with them. That's what's wrong with them. It is the truth, man. It's the truth. Everybody, there's the old saying. I know when I was growing, even now, people say, she needs you. She needs a, what? Well, of course. But, people joke around about it, but it's the truth. Feminists have really helped ruin the country. They bought into the communistic idea of what happiness for a woman is, and it screwed them over. They don't get nearly the love they once had. They don't get nearly the respect they once had. They don't get nearly of men cherishing them and put on the pedestal and taking care of them and taking care of their psychological, emotional, and physical needs. Women they have lowered themselves to the form of dirt. That's how far women have fallen, and they don't even realize it. A man who treats his woman special and puts her on a pedestal and loves her, makes love to her properly, gives her intimacy outside the bedroom, and does things for her, she is a blessed woman these days. She is completely blessed. Because most women don't have nearly what that woman has. But women, they keep chasing They keep chasing the wrong thing. They keep chasing careers. They keep chasing money. They keep chasing fun. They keep chasing pleasure. And guess what? This just like men, it don't work. It don't work. Well, I ain't going to mass because, God this, God that. Well, okay, well, don't God. Hey, you ain't hurting God. Trust me. You are not hurting God. You hurting yourself. If you don't worship God, the creator, you ain't hurting him. He's probably tired of trying to convince your butt or something, but other than that, so that's that. Next, and no one tells us how to deal with this pain of these days. And so unhappiness, unfulfillment, it breeds a lack of emotional closeness, and the marriage begins to severely degrade. This is why understanding sex, the marital embrace, the holy caress, making love, however you want to put it, it's vital that you as a husband understand these things. Because if you don't, like now, it kills me, when I start talking about, especially being a Catholic, and I am Orthodox Catholic, and I love Christ and everything, but I understand that sex is important. And just because I understand that doesn't mean I'm not as good a Catholic. That just means I'm smarter. And plus my job is marriage. So I understand what makes marriage work. And so, but the thing about it is people can't stand when people start talking about the marital embrace and stuff out in the open. They can't deal with it. They can't, but that's their problem. That ain't me and God's problem. So that being said, no one tells us how to deal with the pain in our marriage. And when your wife has a lot of inhibitions, you as a husband are the only one that can get rid of that. You are, it's important that you understand how to bring out your wife's sacred self. All of the pain of your wife's life gets laid in your lap when you get married. All of it. All the sexual partners she's had, all of the emotional abuse she's had, all of the physical abuse she's had. If she had abortions, all the abortions, the miscarriages, all of that, the unhappiness as a child, all these things, man, it all gets laid in your lap as a husband. And if you ignore it and don't know how to deal with it, you're going to have hell in your marriage. Okay, so we are talking about the first one, category one, the emotional. So that's the first category of causes of a sexless marriage. So feelings of depression is number one. Feelings of depression. Each of us experiences mild depression, which is normal, but severe depression is another story. Depression will affect every aspect of your marriage, including the sacred union. Okay. This is why you hear me say you must you must pay attention to your wife. Is she depressed over a long period of time? Is she unhappy? Does she seem, is she's not herself? You've got to start paying attention to your wife, man. You really, really do. And if your wife is doing things that are showing depression, you need to get her some help. But mainly, a lot of times, what can help your wife out of depression is the way you make love to her. Okay? Next, number two, feelings of emptiness. So this can cause severe promiscuity, allows searching to fill that hole in your gut, drugs, pornography, money, any vice you can dream of. Problem, it's never enough. And I just talked about that. Feelings of emptiness in a lot of us is bad. That means that God is not present. When you start feeling empty, if you don't know your purpose, you don't know what your mission is, what you're supposed to be doing with your life, alcohol and drugs and sex and all these things cannot fill that hole. That is an emptiness of God. That means you are too far away from God, and your wife is no different than you in that area. Okay. So a feeling of emptiness is very, very important, man. It causes people to do a lot of things they wouldn't normally do because they start to feel hopeless. All right. So number three, genital pain, mental. So this can be a cause of sexless marriage because there's some mental anguish or pain that you've caused or your wife has had in the past where she unknowingly transfers this to making sacred love. Believing the sacred marital act causes her physical pain. Now, but see, this goes along with, well, I got a headache. I don't want to make love tonight because I got a headache. Or when we make love, it hurts me down there. And in reality, there ain't nothing wrong. It's just I don't want it to. And so I'm making it up that it does. And she really can believe that there is not a problem. You know, she really believes that there is she really believes that there is a problem with something kind of pain or something in her genital area. But in the reality, there isn't. You know, and so that could come from what I talked about before, is, you know, an abhorrence to sex. Of her past trauma in her life where I just don't want to. Women will make all kind of love with you and they're trying to marry you. If a woman thinks you're cute, she's attracted to you, she wants to get with you, she thinks you have potential, all of a sudden, I ain't never got no pain down there. And men go, well, and first thing a man goes is, it's so funny. First thing a man does is when she stops giving him sex all the time, because before they got married, he got sex when he wanted all the time. He didn't have to ask for it, right? Get married, all of a sudden, after 2 years, usually that's about when it happens. After 2 years or so, it's like, okay, what? Because the thing about us is certain things that don't slip our mind. Like, and one of them is all of a sudden, hey, where's the sex? We ain't making love like we was. Something's wrong. Right? Oh my goodness. Okay. So we ask her, oh, no, I don't feel like it. Huh? You don't feel like it? The next day, hey, we think about us doing a little nookie. Oh, well, you know, I got a headache. I don't feel good. I'm tired. Okay, third day. Hey, we think. Well, you know, I gotta cook for the kids. I gotta watch the kids. All of a sudden, you go, wait a minute, man. Wait a minute. Before we was married, we first got married, it wasn't like that. What's wrong now? You know, because women, we start to neglect them and kind of start to let that go on us too, and then they start to pick up on it and they start to go, well, it ain't worth it. So that's kind of the genital pain mental thing. So number 4, infidelity. Chronic infidelity breaks the bond physically and emotionally. The total giving of self is impossible. Without this, you have no marriage. Well, maybe you do on paper. So if you're with your wife and you as a husband start going out and having sex with other women or emotional affairs, or another thing too, if you and your wife, if you are having emotional affairs with women, if you are having sex with other women, or if you are flirting with other women, don't be delusional and think that your wife ain't gonna do it too. I can't tell you other men, they got the nerve to get mad at their wife when they out doing being promiscuous, and then they think, well, I can do it, but she can't. What kind of craziness is that? You know, and they get mad too. They get mad like they want to kill somebody mad, but they out doing it. And I tell you, women don't usually just have sex with a dude. What they do is they have an emotional affair first, almost every time in my experience. And that's pretty vast experience. They usually have emotional affairs first. They just don't sleep with a guy. So that's basically giving you time to get together. But most men, we're kind of stupid. We're clueless. We don't really catch on, you know. And women will have sex with a man just to get back at her husband for having sex with another woman or whatever. It's weird. It's crazy, you know, but that's what they do. So if you're a man where you're flirting with other women, you are, you're having sex with other women, or you having emotional affairs with other women, that's why I tell guys, do not be talking to women on Facebook and stuff. Don't be confiding in other women on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And you know why? Because, man, you're supposed to be talking to your wife about that stuff. Whatever you have on your mind, those women can't help you. Matter of fact, they like it because they go, well, maybe they can get you. Maybe they can have you talk to them because you're sensitive and they think he's a good man and she's just so bad the way she treats me and the way she treats him. You know, man, women, They ain't that much different than men when it comes to sex. It's just they approach it differently than men do. So my point of it is, man, don't be out there. Please don't be out there having emotional affairs with women and talking with them and stuff. If you got a problem with your wife, sit down like a man and talk to her and let her know how much you care and you love her. And then let her know, let's talk about you guys' problems. Because in the end, she's the only one and she's in the best position to do something about it. Okay. Next, lack of trust. Woo! Stops the self-giving, self-sacrificing, love in its tracks. No trust, no marital intimacy, no marriage. And you hear me say that all the time. If you're not making love, your marriage will be over soon. Okay? So a lack of trust stops a woman from wanting to make love. That's a sexless marriage. That's sexless marriage 101. If your wife doesn't trust you, she's not going to want to, make love to you. Another thing, women don't have sex with men they don't respect. So if your wife don't respect you, she's not going to want to make love to you. So what does that mean? Like, if your wife treats you disrespectfully, like she turns the kids against you. She, what else? Oh, she yells and screams at you. Every time you guys have a conversation, she's combative to you. She's always approaching you. She gets in your face, puts her finger in your face. She steps in your space and starts yelling at you. And guys are fighting stuff. That is a woman that has, she won't cook for you. Another thing is what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. Like, that's my car. That's your car. That's my check. That's your check. That's my bank account. That's your bank account. All that's disrespect stuff. All that's disrespect stuff. And so if that's the kind of mindset, that means you got two selfish people and basically it's not going to work. And so trust comes into that. So if a woman doesn't respect her husband, then naturally that means I don't trust him either. I don't trust him to be a man. That's what that means. She doesn't trust you to be the man that she needs, instinctually the man God needs to be able to run your home. So I'm not going to let you do it. And every time you try to run your home, I'm going to combat you on it. I'm going to fight you on it. Okay? Disrespect all up and down. And another thing too, St. Paul in Ephesians 5 talks about the same thing. Women are required in the eyes of God to respect their husbands. Why? Because men need that from their wives. It says nothing about love. Nothing. Okay? So if there's a lack of trust there, women, that means they start to they're not close to you, they don't want to make love to you. Therefore, we have a sexless marriage. Okay? This is why, as men, you got to keep your darn eyes open and get your eyes off the fishing, get your eyes off the sports, get your eyes off your job, get your eyes off your money, get your eyes off your kids, get your eyes off yourself. Watch your wife. Pay attention. She will tell you the clues, man. She will tell you if you just look and open up and are willing to see. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Okay, next, so number 7, mental illness, severe. So this is self-explanatory, but it's often overlooked. Yeah, if your wife has a mental illness, especially like schizophrenia, which is severe mental illness, I mean, she's not going to want to have sex So, because first of all, the medication that she's on is like devastating, so I'm not going to stay on that one for long, but mental illness, you've got to understand, I try to tell guys all the time, I have a lot of experience with mental illness. I'm not a doctor, but I mean, I had it in my family. So I know a lot of the signs and stuff. And I'll tell guys, hey man, your wife has a mental illness. And it ain't ADHD, it ain't post whatever, that stuff. I mean, she has real mental problems. And it ain't what is it? What is that one? What's the one that starts with an A that they didn't made up now? What is it? What is it? Ends autism. Man, that stuff is some made up stuff. Autism, I had a cousin, man, who had autism for real. I mean, severe autism where he would just look at you, you would talk to him, he couldn't talk back. You know, he started, and that kind of stuff. I mean, he was really autistic person, and he's a very sweet man, though. And even today, he has the same thing. This stuff about, well, every kid's got autism. Man, that's just some way to get some money. That's just a way to get you on medications, to get your kid on medications, to get you on medications. You know, look at if somebody starts talking about that you have autism, dude, and of course then they'll say, well, you have minor autism or small amount of it or something like that. Man, I'm sure all of us got some kind of, if you want to look at it like that, we all got some small something, but when you really need help is when it's a severity thing where it limits you, you're retarded and it limits you into doing regular daily things that communicate properly, you know. So this is what I'm saying, man. Mental illness, severe mental illness is not a joke. And I just hate how today that psychiatrists, they make it out to you that we got all these crazy diseases and mental problems and stuff. And then say why? So they can put us on some medications. They won't even tell us the simple stuff of how to eat right so we don't have mental problems. It's the simplest way to not have mental problems is to eat right. They don't tell you that. Why? Because if you stop eating carbohydrates and sugar and stop taking over-the-counter medications and stop taking prescribed medications, you can't give me none of your money. Because other than operations, that's how doctors make their money. So in hospitals. So, we got to smarten up. I'm not saying people aren't sick for real sick. I'm just saying, man, open your eyes because you as a husband, it's your job to know all the stuff I'm talking about. Being a husband and a man is hard today. It really is. But we've got to accept our mission on what we're supposed to be doing instead of putting our head in the sand all the time. Okay. Next, premature ejaculation, number 8. Woo. So 75% of men suffer from premature ejaculation. That's a whole lot. Think about it. 75% of men in this country, probably the world, are 75% are premature ejaculators. So meaning you as a man lose control before your wife has had a chance to experience her first climax. Okay, boom. So I'm gonna back that up with this. 90% of women do not have fulfilling sexual peaks, which is what? Climaxes. 90%. Think about that. This is how I'm saying men come to me thinking, oh, the sex ain't the problem. The sex ain't the problem. We have great sex. Our sex, she's never complained about our sex. Our sex, this is good. Our sex. And I just want to say, man, would you just please be quiet? Would you just please? But you know what? I'm a classy guy. I'm trying to help you. So I know that you got to get it out. So I'll just kind of sit there and listen. But dude, part of the fulfillment of your wife as a woman and as a wife is the way you make love to her. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to make it worse. So this is my whole point. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is learn the mysteries of your beloved, learn about your wife's body, learn what sex means to her, and learn why Jerry says it's the second most important thing in your marriage. Okay? Because I just told you with statistics, and these statistics are true. 75% of us are premature ejaculators. 90% of women do not have fulfilling orgasms. That lets you know right there that there is a problem. Okay? All right. And just look at society. Women are miserable. They are miserable. You can't solve this with a sexless marriage, like I'm saying, with having sex with multiple people. That just damages your soul. That makes it worse. Why? Because God has consequences for having sex with all these different people, right? And VD and all these venereal diseases are one of them. That's just one thing, okay? This is why we are meant to make love and be completely bonded and committed to our husband and our wife, not anyone else. And when we don't do that way, we get 75% of men are premature ejaculators and 90% of women can't get a proper sexual peak. To me, that's like enough said. Number 9. Premarital sex with multiple partners. I've been talking about that all day, but it is one. It's a reason for sexless marriage. Each failed sexual relationship creates defensive barriers, making it difficult to create a lifelong marriage. That is perfectly said. That is the perfectly said. Each failed sexual relationship, especially for your wife, creates defensive barriers, making it difficult to create a lifelong marriage. Defensive barriers is a better word than inhibitions because it's more descriptive, right? So if your wife has had sex with other partners, basically she's going to bring that baggage to your marriage. And guess what? She's going to take you through it. She's going to take you through it. And if you don't know that getting in, then you don't know how to deal with it, you're gonna have a tumultuous marriage, a chaotic marriage eventually. Okay, because women at first, when you first get married, oh, he's the man of my dreams. He's gonna take all my pain away. Boom. And then at first you do, but you're a man. You're not perfect. You're not gonna be able to. It's hard to deal with all the baggage in your wife's marriage and get rid of that unless you know what you're doing. Right. And that's so what happens is when the pressures of children and being married and pressures of job and you guys not have enough time together and you unknowingly start neglecting her, then guess what? All her baggage from all her previous sexual relationships comes into the marriage. Another thing, too, most women and men are disordered when it comes to sex. Nobody knows what sex is for. Nobody knows why really. They don't really know the simple thing of why we're even having sex. Right? And if they do know why, what is that connection to God? They don't really understand that. And so they have sex with all these deranged people, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. I know guys have sex with hundreds of women. And they still ain't fulfilled. They still ain't got together. And most people are disordered when it comes to sex. So if your wife, when you marry her, has had sex with all these different men, she's going to bring all that crap into your bedroom with you. Same with you. Except it affects you less than it does her. Again, because your wife is emotional. She's a nurturer. And she has to bond with the children. So in the natural law, she is given those kind of those special gifts to be able to bond with people better. So guess what? When she has sex with other men, she bonds with them deeper. Then she just bonds with them deeper. And then when they leave her or they're not together no more and all this traumatic stuff happens, then guess what? Your wife gets this thing in her head. Well, all men are terrible. All men are assholes. All men gonna leave me. All men gonna abandon me. All men hate me. This is why you have feminists. Because men, we don't know how to use our power as men, and it gets bad. And when we don't know our own power, we misuse it unknowingly in a wrong way. And women are damaged from that. They are. But now I know it's just not our fault. Women have their problems too. All she got to do is keep her legs closed. But women, they're emotional again. And when they start to feel you love them and they love you, they want to give you their gift. That's how it works. That's why men are called to control ourselves. Women ain't control themselves. It doesn't matter if 100 women come up to you as a man and throw themselves at you. Your job as a man is to be like Christ and refuse all of that, because you are the man. You are responsible, right? Okay, next, premature sex with your wife. Number 10, cohabitation increases the chance of divorce at a high rate. Bam, it goes off what I just talked about. sex with multiple partners. Your wife can't take it. Your wife can't take it. She can psychologically, she can't take it. Emotionally, she can't take it. It's too much for her to deal with. God knows that. That's why God says, I don't want you having sex with anybody else than the person you're married to. Why? Because we all get screwed up. It causes so many problems. Look at all the kids out here that ain't got mamas and daddies around. All the kids in foster care. All the kids in what do you call it? In the well, it used to be called where they put kids, adopted kids and stuff. Dude, God knows what he's doing, is all I'm saying. And the way you as a man solve this is you start to understand your power and what the gifts God has given you. And you unleash those gifts on your wife. And so cohabitation, it increases the chance of divorce because basically lust is in your relationship. Lust is an offense against chastity. And so chastity is important because it orders us toward right sex. It orders us to understand the body properly. It orders us to understand what God created sex for. It understands all of these things. And so when we have sex before marriage, all we're doing is we're running on lust. And so then in eroticism. And so then we get married and we didn't have sex with our wife 100 times and we don't really understand what we was doing, understand what we're doing now, then the lust runs out, don't it? That's why after a year or two, people don't have sex no more. They don't have sex right, or they don't hardly have sex at all. You got a sexless marriage because the eroticism then ran out. The lust has run out in your marriage. And so most people don't include God in their bedroom. And so especially when you don't include God in your bedroom, then the intimacy ain't there either. And if you don't understand these things, you think, well, it's my wife's the problem, or I'm the problem, or one of us got a problem. No, the problem is you guys don't understand. You don't understand sex. You had sex before marriage and all of that stuff. And then a lot of people don't even know what that means. Then you get married, and a lot of people ain't in the Catholic Church, so they don't go to confession. They don't even know, they don't even get the grace from that or the sacraments. And so it's hard to keep a marriage going. And your sex life is a big, big part of that, which, if you don't understand how important sex is now, I have a call to y'all. I'm coming, caller. I'm almost done. If you don't understand how important sex is now, after what I explained this to you, then, man, I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't. I feel sorry for you. I really do. Okay? So premarital sex with your wife is bad. The reason why is because you can't get to know each other. You get married and you don't know each other. And so now you're not the person she thought you were. She's not the person you thought you were. Because sex does what before marriage? It clouds the mind. Okay? It clouds the situation. It clouds the relationship. So the last one for the day is selfishness. Focusing on self, unwilling to sacrifice your life for your wife. This is why the prime reason that men, we don't have sex outside of marriage, and that we are not selfish inside of marriage, because when our wife deems we are selfish, when she deems that and that comes from her making love to her properly and being intimate with her properly, she begins to think we are selfish. If our wife is not fulfilled in the bedroom, she starts to think we are selfish, and that's why she won't make love to us. And it's very important that we understand that, okay?
Want more? Get resource number 2, the 20-minute marriage makeover. See the description.
But the main thing is we can have discussions these days, and we can talk to each other and not get upset and get mad. Just know that even though you hear me say maybe was seen as derogatory things against women, it's because I have women's best interest at heart. And the men that work with me know that. They know that. And a lot of times people hear me saying derogatory things about men. But the men, which can be seen as derogatory, but men that work with me know that I have their best interest at heart. And I do. But you can't proclaim you love somebody if you don't give them the truth of God. and try to help them so that they can so that they know that you have their best interest at heart. And that's where we're going. And I hate it. I don't like it when people like I get misquoted on things all the time. So does Father Ripperger. Anybody that talks about anything like, listen, saving a marriage, talking against abortion, talking against homosexuality, talking against pornography, all of these things are the underbelly of the society, right? They are. Because they go against, people don't want to talk about this stuff because it's painful. That's why you see people, they watch the cat videos all the time. They talk about politics and all that kind of stuff because that stuff, it's fun. It's exciting. But when you start talking about, transgenderism and homosexuality and abortion, and you start talking about, divorced and remarried, you start talking about pornography and masturbation, all these things that people that's a no. We can't. But you know what? The people that I in my circle that I talk to about these things, the people that I collaborate with in this field, we don't care. We don't care what people think. We don't, because we know God. We know this needs to be out there because people need to know, where can I go to get the help that I need to save my marriage, to be a better man for God, to be a better man for my wife, to be a better man for my children. Where do I go to get that help? And I'm telling y'all what if you listen to me, not what I'm saying, but you found me because you start to realize there's no help, no proper help out there. We conclude with a quote from our beloved Pope Benedict XVI, which states, "Society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Now go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is up on you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle."